Hello, English learners. Welcome back to the Level Up English podcast. My name is Michael, and I am really happy today because I'm going to bring a special guest back to the podcast. Today, we're going to be talking to Emma from Pronunciation with Emma. And I'm very excited for this, partly because we've had a lot of requests for her to come back. A lot of people like her work online. It's also very special because she was the first ever guest on the Level Up English podcast. I think it was episode 7 where she first came. And now it's over 2 years later. Finally, she's coming back and we have a really nice chat today. I think she's one of the first guests to be on for the second time as well. Not many people have done that. But I really hope you enjoyed today because we have quite a casual conversation. We talk about video games, we talk a little bit about learning Japanese, we talk about what Emma's been up to, and at the end, towards the end, we also do a little live lesson. So Emma tries to teach me some pronunciation that I'm not very good at. So if you want to see me doing my best, then come out, listen to the end and then see how well I do on this difficult pronunciation. And hopefully you learn something as well. Don't forget to check out levelupenglish.school, the website. Over there, you can see the show notes for this episode. You can also become a member where you can kind of see the transcript for all these episodes. So there's a lot of talking today, a lot of fast talking as well. So if any of it is a bit too fast or too difficult for you, that transcript might be helpful over on the website. Some of you may be listening to the audio version, but did you know there's also a video version? So yes, this podcast is also on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes, but also you can just type in Level Up English Podcast on YouTube, and you should see this channel. So if you want to kind of see me and Emma talking and have like the visual side of it as well, that could be a good option too. But yeah, don't forget to check out Emma if you're interested on her website. At the end, we talk a bit about her pronunciation course, which sounds really amazing, and all sorts of things. She's got a good YouTube channel, Instagram page as well, and a podcast. So if you want to hear everything that she's up to, you can probably find it all on her website, which is pronunciationwithemma.com. Okay, so hopefully that's a nice little introduction. And without delaying any further, let's get into our conversation. Hope you enjoy. So welcome everyone. I am delighted to be joined today by Emma for the second time on the podcast. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me. How are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, it's a Friday evening now, and I was just saying to you, I really appreciate you taking the time. Not a lot of people would at this hour, so thank you.
Yeah, on a Friday afternoon, I think many people would be down at the pub, wouldn't they? Not recording podcast episodes, but yeah, I'm happy to be here anyway. Happy to be here.
So of course you have been on before, but I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who started listening kind of partway through the podcast and they haven't listened, because I think it was episode 7 where you came on.
Wow,
first.
that far back. Episode 7.
A long time ago. You were the first ever guest, if you didn't know that.
And I didn't know that. I didn't. Wow.
You should feel honored.
I do.
And a lot of people might know who you are, but some may not. So would you like to give like a little quick introduction for those people?
Yeah, so people will either know me as one of 2 personas online, let's say. I'll start with the biggest one, my main one, which is Pronunciation with Emma. So my name is Emma. I'm an English teacher from York, England. I started an Instagram page, YouTube channel and everything called Pronunciation with Emma, where I originally started it to actually help people with their listening skills, because a lot of my students really struggle to understand people who were in the UK, like they moved to England and they struggle to understand many of the people here. Like in my lessons, I would say, for example, do you have a car? They would say, car? Car? What's that? Oh, you mean car? So I would have to like say things in kind of like an American accent all the time. Or they would say like car, like, well, no, not car, but car, And, they just got confused by the way I was saying things. So my channel was kind of started more to help people with their listening, and it branched into like helping people with their speaking as well, and being understood. So not just like communicating and understanding, but also communicating to speak more clearly and be understood as well. And later, I think it was last year, we've just kind of hit the anniversary or past the anniversary of Procrastination with Emma, which is where I teach English through video games. And I started like a weird little podcast where I just talk about absolutely random topics. Like people give me a topic and I sit for an hour and I just talk about it. And people listen to it and people love it. So, you know, if you have like an intermediate level of English, then it's perfect for you. Like the vibe is, you know, imagine we're two friends sitting in a pub together having a pint, and we're just chatting, you know, about stuff. That's basically it. So yeah, I have two very different, like very, very different things. One very serious, very teachery, the pronunciation with Emma stuff, and then the more like playful stuff where I'm just experimenting with this very new way of teaching. I wouldn't say it's a new way of learning a language, because I think people for many years have learned language through video games, but using it as a medium to teach is a very new thing. So yeah, I teach on Twitch as well.
Yeah. I've been following that a little bit, and it's such a good idea.
Thank you.
I've kind of toyed with the idea myself because I love video games and I love teaching, of course. But then again, there's only so much you can do. So I feel like I might not get into that. But I love that you have. I also love the name as well. Like it's a kind of a almost like a pun, or I don't know.
It is like a play on like pronunciation with Emma, procrastination with Emma.
How would you explain what procrastinate means to people who don't know?
In simple terms, it's basically when you have a task to do, you have something important that needs doing, but you end up doing loads of other unimportant, less urgent things just so you don't have to do that important task. So it could be like, for example, you've got to do your homework, but you don't really want to do your homework. So you clean the bathroom, you clean the kitchen, you clean all the floors, you decide to reorganize your bookcase, like all of these things, just so you put off doing that task that he's doing, your homework. So yeah, but even though like the vibe is very informal and everything, people do message me and say, actually, this is quite useful because you're teaching different accents. I play games with American accents and people from all around the world. You know, it's not just like American English, British English. You know, it seems to be like these two main ones. Like people are from everywhere. And even though I'm playing a game that's set, let's say, in the USA, there will be different accents within that game, and it's really good. I can kind of highlight to people like, just listen to how he says that word, da da da. We're playing one game right now called Tell Me Why, and it's quite good because it talks about like there's a trans character in the story, so it's quite good that I can talk about these things as well. I mean, it's not, I don't know how many people have done a lesson on like terms that we use for the LGBT plus community, and like what's now derogatory and things like that, like terms 15-20 years ago that were absolutely fine to use in the trans community are now like completely offensive now. So it's really good to kind of address those sorts of things. Like I don't just talk about that, but it's an example of things we talk about. Or if they use like phrasal verbs and things, I'll say like, you know, oh yeah, this means this. Or if they use some slang, and sometimes there are words that even I don't know. So people in my chat will be like, oh, I've just checked the dictionary and it means this. So we kind of learn together. It's really nice. It's a really nice atmosphere and a really nice community as well. Really friendly.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think video games are such a good way to learn. And I always notice like the best, especially my younger students, the ones that have the best English are the ones who play the most games.
Yeah.
I think there is a correlation. But when I'm watching, sometimes I watch like Twitch streams just for fun, and I'm thinking like the language they use is so difficult because there's so much slang, so many references to other games, and it must be so tough for learners. So I imagine it's really good that you're talking naturally, I assume, but
Mhm.
also you can explain certain things if they do come up, and maybe you're not going to use too much crazy slang to confuse everyone. So it's probably a good a good
Yeah.
a good choice. Yeah.
Like a good balance. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't see it as being any different to, say, learning academic English. Like, academic English is also hard. There's
Mhm.
terminology used in academic English that, I probably don't remember, you probably don't know or don't remember. And it's exactly the same in like every single environment you go into. There's going to be acronyms you don't know, there are going to be words you don't know. And when it comes to like the gaming world and stuff, I feel like it can be applied even to daily life. Yeah, there's a lot of slang and things like that. Slang that, as I said, even I don't know, but it's still good to know, because no doubt if you're sitting in the pub with your friends, they're probably going to use some of these terms. They're not going to be talking in academic English or textbook English. Like, textbook English, it's been proven by a lot of research papers to not be very natural. Um, and I think we know how unnatural it sounds,
Mm.
as teachers as well. Like, the whole kind of, hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Like, that is so overdone in textbooks. And I saw once that one textbook even said like, oh, it's wrong to say I'm good. Like, you shouldn't say
Mm.
I'm good. Yet I say I'm good all the time. How are you? Oh, I'm good, thanks. And you? Oh, good.
Yeah. And it's always like,
Um,
may I have a glass of water, please? And like,
yeah,
no one really says that. It's too polite.
no.
Yeah.
I feel a bit posh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, even though it's like grammatically correct, or like you should never end a sentence with a preposition. It's like,
Mm.
well, no, like we don't do that. Like, we put the preposition wherever. We always put it at the end of the sentence. it
Yeah.
it feels a bit weird if I say on which instead da 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 da, which da, 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 on, you know what I mean? On which table did you place the book? If I said that in the pub, you'd be like, Emma, what? How many
Yeah.
pints have you had?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Definitely. I mean, would you describe yourself as a procrastinator in general?
No, I'm actually quite organized.
Okay.
No, I'm really quite organized, especially like my work life. I'm very, very like, I have a list at the start of every day, and I make sure that I go through everything on that list, and I won't sleep until that list is done. So no, I'm actually the complete opposite.
I think that's similar to me. Yeah. So given that you are quite organized, then would you have any advice to people? Like, what advice would you give to people who do procrastinate? I don't know if you do, or maybe it's just a natural feature of your personality.
Like, what if I procrastinate, you mean?
Like if say some of the listeners have problems procrastinating and they always,
Right.
they should be learning with you, but they're playing video games themselves. I don't know.
They can watch me on Twitch.
Yeah, I guess that's
I'm
an
for
easy
those
one.
people.
Yeah.
No. But I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
I think the reason why a lot of people procrastinate, and I'm not saying everyone, I just think a lot of people, and I know because my boyfriend is like this, and I'm like this, but it tends to come from a place of feeling overwhelmed. Like,
Mm.
we're not sure how to start something. So we just put it off, put it off, put it off. And we leave it to the last minute because we're scared to start, or we're scared to fail, or we're scared that we're not going to do it right, or we're scared it's going to take too much time or something. And I think if you really, really plan things, like, just have like micro tasks that you need to do that will help build up to complete that thing that needs doing. So let's say it's your homework that needs doing, and you really, really don't want to do your homework. Okay. And you've got to, I don't know, do a gap fill activity of 20 questions. Just, maybe break it down to like just doing two here and there, do another two later, do another two later. Do you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
kind of break it up a little bit so it's less overwhelming. But it really comes down to like, why are you procrastinating? Is it because you're overwhelmed? Don't you know how to start? Are you feeling anxious? Don't you have the resources to start, or whatever?
Yeah, I like that. So I feel like if you don't try, if you're afraid of failing and you don't try, it's like you can't fail almost.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people use it as an excuse, like not to even try.
Mm-hmm.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to avoid the sun. I don't know if you can see, but the sun is like trying to snipe me now. It's going like right for my eye. So I've got to try and avoid that today.
That's rare in England, isn't it? That the sun is like in your eye.
It's
Yeah.
been
It's weird weather.
overcast all day until we get on this recording. Then the sun comes out to blind me.
Typical English weather. The moment where you don't want the sun,
Yeah.
it'll come out. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about some of your favorite games, though. Like, what? Not even streaming. Just what are your all-time favorite games or game?
I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
I get asked this question so much, and I don't have one because it depends on my mood. And there are games that I've played, unless it's stories, because for me it's like, more of a story. It's like a cinematic experience than a game. But there are games that I've played that have genuinely, like, I still carry them with me. I think one of the stories that really, really hit me was one, what was it called? Life is Strange. There are two Life is Strange games, and it was the first one.
I think I've seen that on YouTube. Yeah.
Probably. It was really, really, really big. It's a game created by a company called Don't Nod, and they create quite a few choice-based games. So for anyone who doesn't like video games, I highly recommend Don't Nod games. They've actually got another one coming out really soon, another Life is Strange, but it's called something with colors. I don't remember. And again, you've got like some weird little psychic power or something like that. But the first Life is Strange, I don't know what it was. You just get like so attached to the characters. And I remember for like a week and a half, I felt so sad because ultimately, like, the whole story is based on, you can't stop the inevitable from happening. No matter how much you try, it's going to happen no matter what. And that was like just a really, I don't know, like a powerful message for me. Like, yeah, you can keep pushing. It's like the procrastination thing. Like, you can keep pushing it, but inevitably, like, in the end, you've got to do those things. They are in the plan for you. You could say it's got to happen no matter what. And yeah, you can choose one of two endings, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I definitely chose the saddest ending. And it really, really stuck with me. I was so sad. I was so sad for like a week or so. And many people would think, well, why would you be sad over a game? But you're not sad over the game. You're sad over the story and the characters. It's like how many people cry over books, or you cry over films, stories that people tell you, you get emotional over it. So there are games like that have really stuck with me. But then there are games where I can just waste hours on them, just playing them like mindlessly, like The Sims.
Yeah.
I'm not such a fan of The Sims 4. I play a lot of The Sims 3, and I managed to even get The Sims 1, and I could not stop playing it. I was like, I played it for absolutely hours. But yeah, there are some other games. I'm just having a look at my desktop now to see what I've got. But like classics like GTA, I absolutely love the GTA games. Grand Theft Auto, for anyone who's not familiar. A lot of management games, I play those quite a bit. Other classics like Pokemon, really, really like Pokemon. Yeah. Other ones like Age of Empires, Age of Mythology. I love those sorts. I think another one that's like definitely on my top list, and it's a very controversial one, but I'll tell you why it's my favorite, is Shenmue. And this is a game that came out many, many years ago. And it breaks my heart, does this game, not because of the story, but because it was just sadly ahead of its time. It was one of the first like open world games that ran almost in real time. It didn't run exactly in real time, but there was like a clock in the game that you know, had a day and night cycle and stuff like that. And the creator of the game originally wanted to make 16 games, 16 chapters of this. And so far, only 3 have been made because the game kind of got cancelled, sort of like it not cancelled in like, you know, oh, it was controversial or anything, but cancelled because many people just thought it was bad and stuff like that.
Didn't have the money.
Yeah, and it just kind of broke my heart that the creator had such an amazing, ambitious idea. I see it as like art. Like for me, video games genuinely are art, especially when they have stories like this. You've got to have stories. You've got to have the artists, like the designers and everything. And yeah, it's so sad that the game probably will never be finished. But it is a good game. It's very, very slow paced. The dialogue is absolutely terrible. It's so bad, but it adds to the charm of the game. And within the Shenmue community, it's become like a joke. You know, like if you go onto Reddit forums and stuff for Shenmue, you will see replies similar to like what Ryo replies. Ryo's the main character, and he always repeats like the same stuff. He always says, I see. Like, he just repeats the same stuff every time. So you'll just see people like asking questions in forums and like replying with I see and it's like a joke in the community. But yeah, and then other stuff like Theme Hospital, again, management games, racing games, fighting games. I play pretty much everything except shooters.
Genres. I'm not a big fan of shooters.
I just have no coordination.
I just wanted to say I haven't heard of Shenmue before, but I feel like by chance I might have seen a clip of it today because it was like on my recommended on YouTube homepage. And you know, you have to click if it's like the rule is if it's less than 10 seconds, you have to click because it's like,
of course,
it's going to be funny. And it's anyway, that's my rule. And it was like it's like, I think it's like Japanese game.
Yeah.
And he was talking to this kid and it was really, really awkward. I'll send it to you later. I wonder if it didn't say the name. I wonder if it was that game because it sounds like it.
If it's Japanese, set in Japan and has terrible dialogue, yeah, it's got to be Shenmue.
That'd be a really weird coincidence, but yeah.
That would be, wouldn't it? Yeah.
We'll see.
It's a shame that it'll probably never get finished. And it was also one of the first games that had, this is such a random fact, but it's one of the first video games where players had separate fingers. Because of course, if you look at like, you know, I don't know, old PlayStation 1 games, the hands are like, you know, like Barbie dolls, like they're kind of stuck like
webbed
this.
Fingers,
yeah, exactly. And you know, bodies look so unnatural. You only have to think of like PlayStation 1 Lara Croft, you know, Tomb Raider, and how, let's say, parts of her body were drawn, you know,
very pointy,
yeah. Yeah, it was one of the first games where players where the character could move their fingers individually. So fun fact, do do whatever you want with that fact, but it's there.
We've come a long way.
We have. Yeah.
Have you ever played, my favorite series is the Fallout series. Have you ever played that?
Wow. Yeah, a long time ago. A long time ago I did. I wasn't the one to play it. I was like with a friend or something, and I played it at their house. And it's I can't remember which one we played, but I remember
Fallout 3. That was like the famous one, 2009, I think.
It could have. I just remember like running around some houses or something like that. I don't remember, collecting bottle caps or something.
Yeah, that's the currency in the game. Yeah.
yeah. I was like, what are these bottle caps for? And then my friend was like, that's your money. I was like, oh, okay. Why?
it's So I bought I bought a TV and a PlayStation secondhand, but just for this game because that's how much I love it. Fallout 4, I love, and as you said, it's like art, and it's a little thing. So it is really sad. It really sticks with you, and because it's like a post-apocalyptic world, right? And sometimes you'll just like find like a hidden underground bunker, and inside you'll find like, you know, oh, the remains of some people that died a long time ago, and you can
No.
kind of piece together what happened by looking around the room, and it it really makes you feel. It's like the horrors of the game, the horrors of that world. It's a very emotional game, I think, but
It's
also
very
very fun.
clever.
Yeah,
Very, very
tiny
clever.
details.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think these days games, they can be so much more than movies, in my opinion. I'm a bit biased maybe, but I love, yeah, you can have a really in-depth story in some games, can't you?
Yeah, yeah, so much that is probably better than a lot of films I've seen,
Mhm.
honestly. I mean, they are starting to make well, not TV series, like more like films, I would say, more interactive. Like you only have to look at Bandersnatch, who it's not a person, which was created by the same people who did Black Mirror.
Hmm.
I don't Have you ever seen Bandersnatch?
I haven't. I was going to mention Black Mirror though.
Yeah. So if you like Black Mirror, definitely have a look. It's on Netflix. It's called Bandersnatch. I'm not going to ruin it. I'm not going to say anything more, but it does come from the whole concept of choice. It's choice based. If you think back to many years ago, probably before we were even born, there used to be like text-based adventures with choices, but they used to be books. So you would start your story, and then it would say something like you are walking through a forest and you encounter a troll. What do you do? And it will give you three options, and then maybe you choose, option C, and it will say go to page 3. You go to page 3, and you'll carry the story and things like that. Like those are the OGs, like those are the originals. And now we're doing it in video games, and now starting to do it in let's call it cinema, but in like films, TV series. Bandersnatch was one of the first ones, and I thought they did it really well, really, really well. So I completely recommend it. It's very stressful. There's a part where you have to like put a phone number in, and I messed it up, and my boyfriend was shouting at me like, "No, we're gonna die now! No, you got the number wrong. No, I'm sorry." But yeah, there are like multiple endings, so depending on what choices you make, you get a different ending.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was going to mention, have you seen the Black Mirror episode where you can choose what to do? I think there's one episode. Or was it Bandersnatch which I watched? I don't know.
That must be
Maybe
Bandersnatch.
because
Yeah,
a friend showed it to me, and I
it
don't
must
know.
be.
It was a long time ago. It was like a couple of years ago, maybe, but maybe it was, and people did die in it, and maybe it was that. Yeah. So I'll make sure I link to this if people want to see. But yeah, Black Mirror is amazing show, kind of a bit dark at points, but I
Kind
recommend
of. It's
that.
like very, I would say, one of the darkest series I've seen. I mean, the first
Yeah.
episode is about the prime minister and a
I
pig.
I recommend skipping the first. Like, I think it gives
No,
such a bad impression.
no. It gets you stuck right in. I would go straight for the first episode.
I just find it
Yeah,
so different from the rest. That they're often about some kind of technology or something like that, future technology, and it just
yeah.
seems a little bit out of place. I liked the first episode, but I recommended it to some students, and they saw the first one and gave up. I was like, maybe don't start with the first one because it's not chronological. You can watch in
No,
any order, right?
there are completely different stories in
Yeah.
each one, completely different actors, different stories. Yeah. You could start watching, from the final season
Mm.
and watch the very last episode, and it makes no difference. But yeah, the pig one is very unusual, but I think it's done because it's something that could happen,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's quite scary to think that that could happen. But yeah, there are ones that are starting to come true now.
Mm.
Like there's the one with the virtual reality set. I can never remember what it's called, but it's the one where these women meet in like a virtual, well, I don't want to ruin it too much, but yeah, they end up like meeting in virtual reality, let's say, and it is a very sad ending. But I mean, it's actually a happy ending, but it is sad in a way, because you'll see what I mean if you watch it. But that concept of using virtual reality to escape the real world is very, very, very close. I was literally talking to my boyfriend about it just yesterday, I think, maybe the day before, where people, he was talking about how people get home from work and they just, slap on this VR set and they're in a different world, escaping the present one. Some people would think it's sad, but I think it's the way we're heading.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, but it seems like it definitely. It's one of my favorite genres. It's like kind of like near future sci-fi. I don't know if it's sci-fi. It's kind of in that category, but it's not like Star Wars or Star Trek. It's like plausible in the next few years, like next couple decades. Another one I've seen recently is a show called Years and Years. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, I haven't.
It has kind of Black Mirror vibes, but it's more realistic. I think it starts from present day, and it kind of uses a lot of the current political situations and stuff, and it predicts what could happen. And there's some horrible things that happen over the next few years in the show, and it got so depressing that I just had to stop. I couldn't watch anymore. So it felt too real. I didn't like it.
I've not heard of that one. Maybe if I have a look at the pictures and stuff, I might recognize some of the actors, but I know I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's another British one. It is quite good.
Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. I watched it online, but it might. I think it is on Netflix. Yeah.
I'll have a cheeky look later.
Yeah, have a look. Bit of a topic change now, but I'm curious about this because I've seen on Instagram you've been learning Japanese, right?
I have indeed. Yeah, you're also learning Japanese, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, something in common.
Yeah. You say, how's it going?
Yeah.
Well, because I've been on holiday for the past few weeks, I've not really been doing much, I'll be honest. But I have been really, really into it. I've been practicing like a little bit every day, and it's really got me into watching anime and stuff. Like I never used to watch anime, like Pokemon when I was little, but I mean that doesn't count. I think everyone watched Pokemon. And you didn't?
I'm not the only person that hasn't, apparently. But
what were you doing as a kid?
I was obsessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was younger.
Right, okay, so we're watching something else.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I was thinking, what did you do if you weren't watching Pokemon? What were you watching? Because I know Digimon was like a little bit after Pokemon. And so I know quite a few people prefer Digimon to Pokemon. But yeah, I loved it. I even like collected the cards and stuff like that. And now they're worth a lot of money. I don't know what happened to my Pokemon cards.
They kept them.
I did. They were mysteriously missing, and I think my brother has flogged them. I think he sold them, like just put the lot on eBay and then pocketed the money, because I cannot. I had a proper folder, and there was some shinies in there, some rares. Yeah, but it got me into watching anime and things like that. I've ended up discovering like some amazing TV shows, really interesting ones, really interesting films as well. Learning a lot about Japan.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I wanted to ask that why did you choose Japanese, and I don't know if you have like a goal, like something you're working towards, or if it's just like one day at a time.
In 3 months. Yeah.
Achievable goal.
Yeah. No, 3 months is definitely past. I'm way past that goal.
It's a hard language.
Yeah, it's very, very different. Every year or two, I learn a new language, just to put myself in the shoes of my students, basically, because I may get cancelled for this. It may be controversial for some, but I believe that if you are to teach a language, then you should also feel what it's like to be a learner as well. There are so many monolingual English teachers, like native English teachers, who only speak English. They maybe did a little bit of French in school for a year or two, and they don't know what it's like to learn a language. They don't know the process. And then they give these tips on like 5 tips on how to learn a language. And I'm like, yeah, but how do you know? You've never learned another language. How can you give tips when you've never even tried to learn another language? So I learned different languages just to understand the mistakes that my students make, to understand a little bit about the way that they're thinking. So when they make a mistake, I think, that's because in Portuguese it's like this, or this doesn't exist in French, and that's why they find it difficult to grasp it, and so on. And the reason why I chose Japanese is because in the past I'd learned more Latin, like Romance and Germanic languages, and I wanted something where I literally could look at a piece of paper and go, I cannot even guess what this says. And I wanted to turn that into language. Like, how do these little lines and drawings become meaning? And I find that so, I studied linguistics, so like I'm a nerd with languages and stuff. I just find it fascinating that some absolutely meaningless lines on a page have meaning to someone. Like, if you think about it, that's so weird. That's so weird. So I was thinking about doing Russian, Arabic, Korean, Japanese. I think that was it. I have a feeling there was Mandarin. That was the other one. Mm-hmm. And I kind of narrowed it down, and I thought, Arabic, I don't really have any Arabic speaking students. So right now it's not going to help me with those students. So I'll save that for a later time. It's also really hard with all the dialects and stuff. So I'm going to leave that for now. And then it kind of basically narrowed down to Korean, Russian, and Japanese. I have quite a few students who speak each language. And I thought, you know what, Russian's cool, but I don't know, I'm drawn to something like, I don't know, completely different. Like when I look at Korean, I'm like, oh, it looks like so cool, you know, like the characters and things are just so interesting. And then I learned that Japanese had 3 alphabets, and I was like, that's the one.
Yeah, you want the
That's
challenge.
the one for me. Yeah, give me torture. So yeah, I picked Japanese, but also I remember when I was very, very young, there used to be a TV, like kids TV station. You know, we had like Cartoon Network and stuff. Mm-hmm. There was one called like Fox Kids or Fox TV or something like that. Can't remember the name exactly. And they had like Japanese programs on, you know, like Takeshi's Castle, things like that. Yeah. And they always had this like little segment, literally just like a 30-second kind of ad segment, you know, in between all the ads. And they would teach little bits of Japanese. Oh, wow. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's so cool. And this was when I was really young. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'd love to learn Japanese. This is so cool. And I think that's like the first time that I'd ever looked at a language and thought, I want to learn another language. But yeah. I'd always put it off because people told me it was too hard. Now I'm learning it. And yes, it's hard, but it's really not as hard as I thought it would be. It is so logical. There are a lot of similarities between Japanese and other languages I know. The alphabets, yes, there are 3, but it's phonetic. You know, it's not like English or French where it's completely chaotic. Yes, you've got to learn things like kanji, which are the Chinese characters. I mean, I know you know this, I'm saying it for people listening, but they are the characters taken from Chinese, and they're more for like representing a concept or something like that. And yeah, they're hard to learn, but it's not impossible, you know? So I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I've just like had my mind opened up into a whole new world. And also it looks cool. Like if you can read a bit of Japanese, especially if it's katakana, because then you know, like, oh, thank God it's katakana. It's going to be a word that's like English or something like that. So I can show off a little bit, you know, to my friends.
This is the thing. So for those who don't know, I know we have a lot of Japanese listeners, but I mean, obviously a lot who aren't as well. So like katakana is like the alphabet that's usually foreign words or maybe scientific words or something like that.
Yeah.
But basically, if you know English, you already know like 20% of Japanese because a lot of it is in katakana. So if you learn these, I forget how many there are, but you know, it could be 50 or so, I don't know. These
like
symbols.
40 something, I can remember.
Yeah. If you learn this alphabet, then you can already read a lot, and it will just be. It's quite funny though. What's the funniest like katakana word you've learned, or like the weirdest? Like because they have to say it in their alphabet, English words in their alphabet. So have you learned any kind of interesting ones so far? I don't want to put you on the spot.
One that I came across quite recently, it's very on topic, was I have to remember how it was pronounced. I think it was wakuchin. Vaccine.
Yeah, because they don't have V's, right?
Yeah. But yeah, wakuchin. That one was really interesting. And then there are just like really cute ones like keiki, you know, and it's like, oh, so nice. Okay. But yeah, there are some like brand names, like McDonald's.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, McDonald's is quite interesting. I can't remember how it is.
Well, a lot of Japanese, they shorten it because it's just too long. Like they often say like makudo.
Yeah.
Or Starbucks is like, I think Sutaba or something like that. But like the whole phrase is like makudo narudo.
That's it. Yeah, something like that.
It's understandable, but it's also quite different. It's quite funny.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting that they adapt the words, and it just sounds so nice. I don't know about you, but when I listen to Japanese, there's just something, I don't know, maybe I was Japanese in a previous life or something, because like when I hear it, I feel like it's so soothing. Like I feel like at home. I don't know, it feels nice. Maybe, as I said, maybe I was Japanese in a previous life, but I just feel it's so pleasant to the ear to listen to is Japanese.
And it, as you were saying, it's such a cool feeling, like overcoming that challenge. And maybe you have like self-limiting beliefs like it's too hard. And the fact that you can do it and see progress is incredible. And it's kind of embarrassing to say because I've been learning for 10 years now. But
I thought it was a new thing.
No, people, you must be fluent now. Like, no.
Doesn't work like that.
Maybe, I don't know if I'm just a slow learner or if it hasn't been a priority, but I'm not super good. But anyway, even after 10 years, I still feel that excitement, like reading a text. It's like, wow, I can't believe I can read this. It never goes away for me. So that's why I love Asian languages.
Yeah, because you also speak some Mandarin, right?
Yeah, that's more of a new thing. It was an easier jump because I know a lot of the characters anyway, but then the speaking is tough because it has all the tones.
Yeah. I would love to learn Mandarin as the next. You know what? I'm already thinking of like what's going to be my next language. And I can't decide between Korean and Mandarin because Korean just looks. It just looks so interesting. Like the alphabet looks so interesting. The characters look very interesting, and you don't have to fight with 3 different alphabets and kanji and stuff like that. But Mandarin with the tones, that's something that's very, very different for an English speaker.
My intuition would be, I might be wrong here because I don't know anything about Korean, but I feel like Korean and Japanese are more similar. Like, I'm pretty sure they have like pretty much the exact same word order and things like that. Whereas Chinese word order is more like English. So the grammar in Chinese is really simple. So I feel like if you learnt Korean while your Japanese was still not advanced, I'm assuming it's not advanced. I don't want to make assumptions, but
no, it's still pretty basic. Don't worry. Okay. I'm not offended by that comment.
I imagine it might be easier to mix them up, Korean and Japanese, because they're probably quite similar. But yeah, Mandarin's also a bit similar.
Yeah. A few people have told me that they're quite similar in terms of grammatical structure. Like they have the particles as well,
Mhm,
like wa and ga
mhm.
exist. Oh, wa and ga. It's like in Spanish, the ser and estar. Like it's always gonna be a pain. I can feel it. From the very beginning, when something's just gonna be a pain for the rest
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that language learning journey.
I still don't
Yeah.
get wa and ga, by the way. It's kind of like translates a little bit to like is almost or something like that. It doesn't really translate. It's like almost like a
No,
preposition,
no.
but it
But
I don't get
but
it still.
no, but this is good. Like I wanted to learn things that wouldn't translate to English because
Yeah,
I wanted the experience of just looking at something and being like, well, how do you say that in English? Oh, you can't. Oh. Like that's the experience I wanted, because I
yeah.
know that many of my students, they go through the exact same thought process, and I want to know how can I deal with that? Like how would I deal with that? How did I deal with that? And how can I teach my students to deal with it?
Hmm.
And I'm still trying to find how I'm dealing with it. I don't think I am dealing with it. I'm just ignoring it and hoping that it will click one day in my brain.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely amazing to. I love what you said about making it. I don't know if you did say this, but I think it does make people a better teacher.
Yeah.
You kind of said that, and I think that's true. Knowing more languages, learning yourself. What are you finding hardest about it at the moment?
About learning Japanese?
Yeah.
Nothing really.
Mm,
I would say it's the speaking and remembering the order, but that comes with absolutely every language that you
uh-huh.
learn. Even when I was learning Portuguese, I struggled to speak because it's harder to speak as you're trying to get the words out as quickly as possible, but your brain is also on overdrive trying to think of the grammar, the structure, and everything like that.
Mm,
And uh, I'm quite a bad student in the sense that I don't care so much about having correct grammar, so long as it's not a complete mess to the point where the person doesn't understand me or where it's just completely wrong. But if I say something like, I don't know, like yesterday I go to the shop instead of yesterday I went to the shop, you still understand me if I say yesterday I
mhm.
go. Yeah, it's not correct, but you understand. And that's how I am when I learn another language, because again, many people may see this as completely wrong and controversial, but I believe language is a way to communicate. It's not a way to try and be perfect. And I think many learners, when they first start learning a language, especially in their first few years, they try to speak perfectly because they are trying to speak how they sound in their first language, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And this, I think, is particularly more difficult for adults, especially adults in like powerful positions, let's say, where you've got to speak well. Otherwise, people will think, unfortunately, people will judge you and people will think, oh, are they an idiot? What's wrong
Mm,
with them? And so there's a lot more pressure to speak perfectly because they don't want to come across as less intelligent or something like that. Because unfortunately, again, I don't equate, like me personally, I don't equate language proficiency to intelligence at all, but some people do. It's just a fact. They will listen to you and think, wow, I mean, it's happened to me where people have thought that I'm an idiot when I've spoken Spanish because I couldn't conjugate into the past tense, and they flat out just said like, are you an idiot? What's wrong with you? And
uh,
there was
yeah.
yeah, it's mean. And there was a TV show, I can't remember what it was called. It was a US TV show, and there's a woman in there who speaks Spanish, and she's getting all like flustered. She's like having an argument with her husband, and she's getting all flustered because she can't find the words. Like she's getting really angry, and she turns around and she says something along the lines of, do you realize how smart I am in Spanish? And I always like that, always sticks with me. Like people forget how smart we are in our first
Yeah.
languages. But yeah, we need to go back to being like a kid, and some people don't want to do that. many people, they want to sound like an adult, but yeah, we need to go back to being like a kid, making mistakes and stuff like that, being corrected, and just getting the message across. As kids, we didn't care about grammar. We just cared about telling our mum, look at this rock. Do you know what I mean? Like and we need to do the same in a second language as well. But some people may disagree with that. I don't know what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, kind of the same. I feel like you probably will learn to say went rather than go.
Yeah.
After some time, but maybe it's nice to have some. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's nice to have some form of feedback or corrections, but not to worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Like maybe I would say some middle ground. Yeah. But I also feel like, regarding what you said about people feeling stupid, I feel like it's very common with monolingual people in particular. Like I noticed with like a lot of people where I'm from in Cornwall, I feel like are quite monolingual. The people that I see there anyway, people that I know. And whenever they talk to someone who is from another country, they kind of talk like you talk to a baby, like, hello, how are, like they raise their pitch of their voice, and it's like you can talk slow, but you don't have to talk like a baby. Like
or they just shout.
Yeah, like shouting makes it more comprehensible for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, they just shout at you. That's happened to me in Spain, where they just shout. They'll have just spoken really fast or something, and I've just said, sorry, and they just say it exactly the same speed but louder. I'm not deaf.
Yeah, it's quite funny. Yeah, I think almost all of my students are probably smarter than me. It's just there's one area where I know more, which happens to be English. But I feel like lawyers and movie directors, like they're all smarter than me. Come on. Like,
yeah. I'm not agreeing that they're smarter with you, but I know what you mean.
yeah. I know we don't have too much time. I did want to ask, because I shouldn't have, but I did promise people in last week's episode that I would ask you this.
Okay.
Because I had a question about a particular pronunciation difficulty, and I kind of gave my best advice, but I also said I really struggle with this as well.
Okay.
This is the TH sound. So I sounds.
There were two.
Oh, yes. Okay, you can explain that if you like. Because I tend to say for example, the word number, this number, 3. I will often use an F, like 3. It's kind of hard to know what I'm saying. I've been practicing recently, trying to say like 3, like, a little bit more. I've never been good at it. Maybe it's like a speech impediment or something. I've never been good at. As a teacher, I want to improve. As a person, I don't care. But
right.
I would like to know your advice, because I know a lot of people have problems with that. And I don't know if it's possible to summarize, especially for audio listeners. But do you have any tips on that sound for partly for me, but also people listening?
Yes, I'll teach you now, shall I? The teacher
get a free lesson.
The teacher gets taught, yeah. Well, we first have to say that there are 2 TH sounds. What you're doing is something very, very common and completely fine. It's called TH fronting. And it's when you take the sound, so the voiceless TH, and you change it into a f. And this tends to happen at the start, the middle, and at the end of words. TH fronting can also happen with the v sound, so the voiced one as well. But this one shifts to a v sound. For audio listeners, sorry, you're not gonna really be able to tell much difference. But this one is very interesting because it will only happen in the middle and at the end of words. I think only in the middle. I can't remember. Like loathe. No, it happens at the end as well. But you wouldn't say, for example, if I said that, you wouldn't say that one. A lot of people though would say dat, oh, dat one. That happens in quite a few different accents. Like I'm talking just about natives here for people who are listening and watching. I'm not even talking about like quote unquote non-native varieties, because many people will debate on what's native, what's non-native. But some tips to learn. I mean, for you, like, you're completely understandable saying think, and do you say like mother or do you say mother?
Yeah, I kind of said like a V, like mother.
Yeah. So you're consistent. That's interesting. That's good.
Consistently not right. If again, there's that right. It's debatable.
Yeah. You've got like the standard, but you're completely understandable. So I personally wouldn't even, like, if I were you, I wouldn't even bother like correcting it. I wouldn't worry so much about it at all. But for anyone who does want to change it, so this isn't saying like you have to, this is more like if you want to change it, just make sure that the tip of your tongue is between your teeth. And I want you to imagine, you know, like how you do a, so if you say like fun, your top teeth, exactly, good, perfect, well done. Your top teeth are resting just on the inside of your bottom lip here, fun. So if you want to do the TH, you need to essentially replace your bottom lip with your tongue. So you put your tongue in between your teeth, and the same kind of pressure that you put on your bottom lip, like fun, you just put it on your teeth. So the air needs to travel between your top teeth and your tongue here. Because many people, what they do is they bite too much, and then it sounds like and that's not like a healthy sound
or something.
Yeah. Yeah, have a go. Think. Well done.
It needs to practice. Sometimes I get it pretty good, but no one's around to hear it.
Well, we all heard it, we all witnessed it. So we know that you can do it.
It's hard at the end for me, like month. That's tough. Month.
Yeah. So when it comes to consonant clusters, like the N and the TH together, like month, there's like TH and S are like maths, these ones, clothes. I mean, I'm getting into the voiced one. I'm just focusing on the voiceless one for now, but the same principle applies, as like the same instructions apply as before. Like what we tend to do, if we say like months, you'll notice I'm not saying like months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm actually pronouncing the na as a dental, months, and then my tongue slides forward, months. You know?
I'm nervous to practice now, but yeah.
You're in a safe space.
I don't know. Months.
That's it.
It's very tough for me. Months.
Yeah. So the N is actually dental.
Yeah, I think one reason why I want to practice, because I know you said maybe don't bother, but it's kind of what we said before. Like I want to know the struggles that the learners feel, so I kind of know the process, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. I went through the same thing with some sounds in English as well. Like I had to learn some diphthongs because being from York, we didn't have O. Like we say O, so, no, go.
I love that sound. No, I told you I went to York recently. And I heard that everywhere. Like, I think, I hope you don't mind me imitating the accent, but I went to Greg's, the kind of, I guess it's kind of fast foody bakery place.
Like a fast food bakery, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I almost didn't understand, but the way they said it was like, do you want takeaway?
Takeaway.
Yeah. And it was, that sounds nice.
That's another diphthong, is the A. Yeah, so like, de, say, way.
I don't know.
Yeah, day, say, way. I don't know. Yeah. The whole week, you know, my dad has been visiting me, and I've had to switch like to my, let's say, my original accent. So yeah, for this podcast episode, I'm making an exception for an hour, you know, to speak let's say my teacher voice. I've also had like a bit of criticism from some people saying like, well, why don't you teach in a Yorkshire accent? And I say, because I simply don't want to. I just don't want to. I can still remember, and it's not because I think it's wrong or anything. It's just I simply, like, I have a teacher mode and I have, you know, my Yorkshire mode. It's as simple as that. When I was in Spain and I was teaching like a group of teenagers, I was a language assistant in Spain, but the teacher kind of let me have a little bit of control over like teaching the class and stuff like that. And we were talking about the vowel sound, as in like pub, much, and so on. That's one I had to learn, and that's one that I still sometimes struggle with, and it sometimes slips back into an sound. It doesn't happen so often, but from time to time, a little slips out, like bus instead of bus, things like that. I'm going out to the pub instead of going to the pub. And I can still remember I was teaching this sound because all the students were saying like pab. They were using it like an sound. And I said, no, it's like an And I wasn't thinking, I was like in Yorkshire mode again. And I kind of wrote the symbols on the board, and I said, okay, let's say pub. I think I've said pub like so many times in this podcast episode. I'm clearly craving like a session at the pub, aren't I? It's like all I've got on the brain today is pub.
It's weekend.
But it's the weekend, that's it.
When we're recording anyway.
Yeah. So I remember saying to them like, okay, listen and repeat, did, the classic drilling exercise, pub. But the thing is, I didn't realize that I was saying pub. So I had this class of like 13, 14-year-olds, all Spanish, bless them. They're like, pub. And I was like, oh no, I'm giving all these people a Yorkshire accent. I very quickly just said like, oh no, sorry, it's more like pub. But it was a great opportunity for me to also say like, that's how we would say it in Yorkshire,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if people want to live in Yorkshire, they want to travel to Yorkshire, then it might be nice. But yeah, probably for a lot of them, they don't want to go to London and people are like, wait, why are you saying it weird? Because it doesn't, they might not have the accent, they might just have the pronunciation. In that case, it might be strange. But maybe like to put a bow on that TH topic, like to conclude. When I do get that question from learners, I often redirect them to a video you made on YouTube before, which is really helpful. So I can also put that in the notes of this podcast, a link to that. Because
thank you.
You made a really nice video kind of going over that sound. And I guess it would just be kind of repetition and practice over time. It's not something you can just learn after one video, right?
No, the way, like many people think that learning about pronunciation is like learning about grammar. I can show you the rules for grammar and bang, you've got it. And you can go out into the big wide world and you can use that grammar. But when it comes to pronunciation, it's more like going to the gym. And I always tell students, if you want a six-pack, you're not going to go to the gym for 5 minutes, or you're not going to watch a video on YouTube for 10 minutes and do, a couple of, I don't know, like weightlifting or whatever and get the six-pack. It's not going to happen. It's something that happens with consistency and with practice. And this is the absolute key. Consistency is key. It's something we say for everything, right? Consistency is key. Consistency is key. But it really is. If you want that six-pack and that summer body, I'm using like quotation marks here for our audio listeners, but if you want that, you're not going to get that by going to the gym, once a week or for 10 minutes or something like that. You've got to go every day and you've got to practice a little bit. And that's what you're doing. But the difference is, instead of working out your abs and your what we call bingo wings in English, the like flabby arm skin. It's a good term there, bingo wings. You can put that in the footnotes.
I'll do that. Fat on your arms, basically. That
fat on your
looks
arms,
like wings. Yeah.
Yeah, called bingo wings. Yeah, because it comes from like the old ladies, their arms are like moving when they're playing bingo, such a funny term. But I ended up getting distracted by the bingo wings then. That was it.
Consistency.
That's it. You're basically training the muscles in your mouth. Mm-hmm. So we are all born, unless you have like a genuine physical disability or a speech impediment or something. In that case, you should be seeing like a speech therapist, which I think many of us won't have to. You are born with exactly the same muscles and structure and tools as everyone else in the world, but each language just uses those tools differently. So you've just got to learn how to use new parts of your mouth that you've not used before, or put your tongue in certain positions that you haven't done before because it doesn't exist in your language in that way, and things like that. It's all about training that muscle. Muscles, there's more than one, but training those muscles. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah, like yeah, it is. They are muscles, right? And
Mhm.
it takes a long time to get used to it. Like when I started learning Chinese, after for the first couple months, my mouth, especially near the back of my throat, it would hurt. It would be painful because
Good.
I there were sounds that I never made before. Now
Mhm.
it's not so painful actually. So I guess I got used to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that might happen in extreme cases. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's causing like extreme pain, don't do it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if
not
it's like
extreme pain. Yeah.
if it's like a little bit
Discomfort.
of soreness,
Yeah.
yeah. Just like, when you go to the gym, you get a little bit of
Yeah. It's a
soreness.
good
It's like,
feeling.
yeah, yeah, if you get a bit of soreness like in your cheeks and stuff like that, then it's completely normal. Some students have to, even me, I always kind of joke that I'm going to have a really thin toned face like by the time I'm like 50, because I'm practicing like so many kind of exercises and stuff like that with students. But if you're feeling like a little bit of um like you've had a bit of a workout, then yeah, it means that you've been doing it right. Like
Mhm.
you've been training muscles that you haven't used before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And speaking of sore cheeks, I feel like I've got that now because I've been smiling while talking to you, and we've been going quite a
Yeah.
while. So I want to respect your time. I mean, I had a lot that I wanted to ask, I didn't get to. Like, I wanted to ask a bit about your course that you've got, and things like that. I'm
I
sorry
can
we
talk
couldn't.
very No, I can
Yeah,
talk very quickly about it if you like. I've
I was
got
gonna say you
a
can
few
mention
minutes,
that
don't we?
and tell people like where else they can go if there's anywhere else as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so my goal with my online pronunciation course was to create the best online pronunciation course available online. I currently teach one-on-one, but I also have my private. That's the same thing. I was going to say I teach one-on-one, but I also have my private lessons. That's the same thing, Emma. So I teach one-on-one. They are private lessons, but I also have my online course, and I basically did some research to find out what was missing with pronunciation lessons, and a lot of pronunciation lessons that courses, I mean, online that I came across were very much just like, here's a sound, repeat, next video, here's a sound, repeat, next video. And there was no opportunity to practice. And what's very important is that there was no opportunity to get feedback. This is something that was seriously, seriously, seriously missing. So I was trying to work out what course would seriously help students and benefit them and really, really help people who are serious about improving their pronunciation and listening skills as well, because they're tied very, very nicely together. So I created my course, and it's still growing. In my mind, it's like a baby, but I know many people who join, they're like, wow, there's so much stuff in here, like it's huge. There are honestly like over 100 lessons all about pronunciation, like very, very specific individual things about pronunciation. And it takes you from the absolute basics. So if the whole procrastination thing we were talking about at the beginning, like some people can get overwhelmed. They go on YouTube, type pronunciation, and then they just get lost in all these pronunciation videos and just flick between different teachers. Then they end up picking up different accents and stuff like that, and they want to be consistent, and it can be really messy. And I just cut out all of that, and I get straight into like starting from the basics. You can hop around the course, there's no problem with that, but starting from the very basics, and then it builds up and up and up, and it will take you to some more advanced features, like something that I am yet to even see a video about on YouTube is about about triphthongs and smoothing. And smoothing isn't something I've come across on YouTube yet. I ought to maybe make a video about it, because I would hit the
Yeah,
the
yeah,
top
yeah.
of there, because there's nothing about it. But yeah, I talk about that. So less commonly spoken about topics, but things that are used, but people don't realize. And then it takes you to things like stress. So word stress and the rules for word stress, talks about sentence stress, the rules for sentence stress. There are so many exercises. And the key thing is that you get feedback every single day. So you can submit a recording every day. Some people don't do that, but you have the option to do it. Some people do it, and they are very dedicated students. But you have the option. You don't have to do that. Don't think of it as like an intensive course where you have to give feedback, give a recording every day for feedback. And then the cherry on top is the one-on-one session you get every month with me. So for 15 minutes once a month, it doesn't sound like a lot, but really it is plenty of time. We go through any questions that you've got or anything that you're still struggling with, things that maybe you practice quite a few times in the recordings and you're like, oh, Emma, I'm still not getting it. Am I doing it right? And I need to, see your face and see your mouth to make sure you're doing it right. Like we did with the TH, just before. So we'll practice that, go through whatever questions some students have for 15 minutes. And then there's also a group webinar as well, where I go through questions that people have. So yeah, it's not one-on-one, but sometimes people have questions like, I've come across this rule. Can you explain it a little bit more, please? And it's good because people ask questions that other students have never thought about, but they're very, very useful to know. So yeah, it's kind of like the complete package, and it's still growing. It's still growing every single month. There are new lessons added. So yeah, it's going to be huge. My idea is to have like a huge database and just have it as like the home of pronunciation and just the hub of pronunciation. And I would love to add different accents.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Like if you want to learn about pronunciation and you want to improve your pronunciation, you want feedback, that's the place to go. That's how I want it to be. So yes, I have big dreams for that one.
Yeah, that's
still
really
a baby.
Where can people find that? Did you mention the website or?
No, it's just pronunciationwithemma.com. So if you head to pronunciationwithemma.com, you will see everything there. There's information to everything. But even if you go on my social media pages on like Instagram and things, like my website is linked everywhere. So you will find it somewhere. Don't worry.
Perfect. And yeah, Instagram, as you said, YouTube as well is very popular. You're quite big on there as well.
It's almost overtaking. Maybe it has already overtaken. I'm not sure. I don't really check my subscribers. I'm a very bad YouTuber. Like I don't check my subscribers.
Not to check that too much. Yeah.
I think it is. Some people get a bit like obsessive and upset over it, but like nearly 200,000 subscribers.
Amazing.
Over this.
250,000 almost.
Oh, don't say it like that. It scares me. It really does. Yeah. I get like little kind of alerts when I hit milestones. So it's like, you have reached 5 million views. I'm like, oh my God, 5 million? What?
Yeah, well, what's crazy is when you see how much time, like, people have listened to your content for like so many thousands of minutes this month.
Yeah.
What? I can't believe people have spent that much time on me. It's crazy.
Yeah, like who are these people listening to me? Because I mean, you're like me. You just create the content in your home, right? Like you don't have a team of like 10 people and like editors or whatever. Like you just do it mostly by yourself, if not all by yourself. So it's like, oh, little old me, in my room. It's very, very surreal. And yeah, then people sometimes recognize you. Have you been recognized yet in London?
No,
Anyone?
I haven't. I try to keep anonymous. I like wear mask, hat,
sunglasses. Yeah.
I don't think I'm that famous. I don't think I'm that well known. Definitely not famous, but
yet
I don't want to take the chance. I'm a bit socially awkward in real life. Well, more so than now. I'm a little bit now, but
yeah, I think we all are. We all are to some degree. It's always a little bit weird, if someone approaches you like, oh, I know you from somewhere.
Yeah. I've had some comments like I've been in certain parks in London filming outside, and someone comments like, oh, you walked right past my house. Like,
yeah,
you almost saw me.
yeah, it's always a bit weird, isn't it? But weird in a good way. I don't want people to listen to this and be like, oh, they think it's weird, and it's more weird like, I'm just a normal person, just like making podcasts and videos, and then someone knows me.
I would be very happy, for the record, if someone did say hi in real life. Like if that ever happens, that would be a nice feeling.
But... And if anyone wanted to buy us like a free drink, like we'd also like that.
Yeah,
we wouldn't
down
mind
at the
that.
pub, of course. Yeah,
of course, at the pub. Yeah, if you spot us in there, you might spot us in the pub. We wouldn't say no to a free pint. That wouldn't be weird.
Yeah, well, Emma, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been, I think, the longest episode I've ever done, to be honest, but it's been really
Everyone
fun.
says that. Everyone. I'm ruining everyone's podcast. I'm so sorry.
I
But
knew we'd
thank you
talk
for
for a while.
inviting
There
me.
was a lot we could talk about. Yeah. Thank you so much, and hope we could, who knows, maybe we'll do a part 3 one day. We'll see.
Who knows? Yeah, when you're famous and you've been recognized by everyone in London in parks and stuff. Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you so much anyway. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you later.
Bye bye.